You know, we hear about AI all the time. But have you ever stopped to think about what's going on behind the curtain? When an algorithm makes a huge decision about your life, who's actually making sure it's fair? Who's making sure it's even legal? Well, there's this whole hidden world of rules and guardians, really, who are shaping our digital future. So, let's go meet them.
I want you to imagine this for a second. You apply for a loan, maybe a new job or even an apartment, and you're rejected. Not by a person, but by some automated system. So what happens then? Who do you even talk to? This isn't some sci-fi scenario. It's happening right now. And it really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. Who is minding the machines?
Okay, so before we can meet the heroes of this story, we've got to understand the dragons they're up against. Because AI isn't just about cool chatbots and self-driving cars. It carries some pretty serious risks that can cause real-world damage if nobody's paying attention.
And these risks, they can pop up anywhere. An AI can accidentally learn and then amplify the biases that already exist in our society, which can lead to discrimination in hiring without anyone even meaning for it to happen. It can be used in some really sneaky ways to sell you stuff, and in something as sensitive as healthcare, it could put patient data at risk. The big takeaway here is that these aren't just little technical glitches, these are real threats to fairness and safety for all of us.
So with all these potential dangers, who's stepping in to protect us?
Well, this is where a brand new and honestly super important role is starting to emerge: the AI compliance officer. You can think of them as part detective, part lawyer, and part tech wizard, all rolled into one.
So yeah, that's their official title, AI Compliance Officer. And their job is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. They are the person inside a company whose entire job, their whole focus, is to make sure that the AI systems they're building are playing by the rules. And not just the legal rules, but the ethical ones too.
And their mission? It's huge. It kind of builds in these 4 key stages. First off, they have to know the law inside and out. But their job doesn't stop there. This idea of ethical stewardship means they have to ask not just, can we do this, but should we do this? Then, they're constantly auditing the systems, because an AI that's fair today might drift and become unfair tomorrow. And finally, they have to report everything they find straight to the top, so that accountability flows all the way through the company.
Now these guardians, they don't just work on instinct. They have a growing toolkit packed with laws, frameworks, and new technologies to help them do their job. It's a really complex landscape for sure, but it provides the solid structure they need to do real, meaningful oversight. And the rules are getting incredibly specific, especially in places like California, which is often ahead of the curve. You've got laws tailored for totally different areas. For example, the Fair Employment and Housing Act, FEHA, says you have to run bias audits on automated hiring tools. The CCPA is all about protecting your personal data from being misused by AI. There are even laws about how an AI has to disclose itself when talking to patients. It's like a legal safety net, with each part designed for a very specific purpose.
But it's not just about what's on the law books. The toolkit also includes these really important technical frameworks, like the one from NIST for managing risk. It also has software that can watch an AI in real time to detect bias as it happens. And there are even these explainability tools, which are just amazing. They help translate a machine's super complex decision into reasons a human can actually understand. This is really where the legal world and the data science world shake hands.
Okay, so we know who the guardian is, and we know what's in their toolkit. But what does their most important job, auditing the algorithm, actually look like in practice? Come on, let's pop the hood and take a look. It turns out transparency isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. There are 2 sides to it. First, there's manifest transparency. That's for you, the user. It's that little notice that says, hey, you're talking to a bot. Simple. But then there's latent transparency. That's the deep stuff. That's the detailed logs and the audit trails that a compliance officer or a regulator would need to see to really understand what the system is doing under the hood. You absolutely need both.
And the whole point of one of these audits, the absolute core goal, is to find something called disparate impact. And what that means is that the AI's intent doesn't matter. An algorithm doesn't have to be built with any malice at all to be discriminatory. If its final decisions hurt one protected group more than another, even by accident, that's disparate impact. And it's the compliance officer's job to hunt that down and get it fixed.
So this is what they're actually doing day to day. Auditors have to slice up the data and check how the AI is performing across different groups, by race, gender, age, you name it. For the really big, high-stakes decisions, they have to make sure there's still a human in the loop, a real person who can override the machine. And when they do find a problem, they don't just write a report and walk away. Nope, they create a real action plan with names and deadlines to make sure it actually gets fixed.
So, we've covered the officer, the tools they use, the whole process. But let's zoom out for a minute. Why does all this technical, legal stuff actually matter to you and me? Well, it all boils down to one simple, powerful word: trust.
It's really that simple. We are never going to fully trust or embrace this incredible technology if we don't believe it's fair and if we don't believe that someone is going to be held accountable when things go wrong. This entire structure of compliance, all these rules and roles, they're all being built to serve as that foundation for public trust.
Let's circle all the way back to that first question we asked. You got rejected by an algorithm. What's your next move? Do you have any rights in that situation at all? The answer has to be absolutely yes.
And that right there is the ultimate goal of all of this. Good governance isn't just about preventing bad things from happening, it's also about giving you a solution when they do. It's about making sure that you, as an individual, have a clear path to appeal, to ask questions, and to get a real answer when an automated decision turns your life upside down.
So how long does this accountability last? Well, think about this. The records from these audits, all the documentation of why an AI made a certain decision, they don't just get deleted. By law, they have to be kept for 4 to 10 years. That creates a long-term record, a kind of institutional memory that makes sure accountability isn't just for today, but for many years to come.
And in the end, this is what it's all for. This quote just nails the mission of the AI Guardian perfectly. It's not just about avoiding fines or checking boxes. It's about steering this incredibly powerful technology in a direction that benefits all of us. That's the promise. And these guardians, they're the ones holding the line.